Hallo Cliquenabendler, wir sind bei Indie Boards Cards. And next to me is Travis. Hi Travis.
Hello, good to see you again.
I think it's your 7th or 6th year here at the fair?
7th year, I believe. Yeah, well, actually, my 6th year here because last year I had a daughter the day before Essen, so I did not make the trip. So,
Okay.
7th year as a company, 6th year myself.
Right. And I think this is your... What expansion is it? Number 6? Also number 6 or 7?
I think 6 or 7. 7.
So everybody who has a basic game can now play something different with, what's it called? Tragic Events?
Flashpoint Tragic Events. And I guess it was about 2 years ago I was contacted again by a fan of Flashpoint. So Lutz, and I cannot pronounce his last name, designed several of our Flashpoint expansions as a fan that we published. And this year, Clint and Blue are two designers out of North America. One's Canadian, one's American. And they approached me and said, we have an idea of a new expansion. And I said, great, let's try to make it. So the core mechanic of Tragic Events is replaces the hotspot mechanic from Flashpoint. And hotspots are where you roll again and the fire accelerates and it gets bigger and bigger. And some people find that mechanic a little bit confusing. The rest of Flashpoint is very intuitive, but the hotspots are a little bit confusing. So instead of hotspots, you have a deck of cards called the fire deck, and depending on the number of players and the difficulty level, you vary the number of Fire Rages cards to the Accelerate card. And then on your turn, when these are shuffled up, you take one card and that will tell you what to do. In this case, you have Advanced Fire, which is just like a normal turn where you expand the fire once per turn. However, if you were to draw an Accelerate card, you advance the fire, you advance the fire again, you take an event card. So there are, I don't even know how many event cards on there. I'd say 40 to 50 event cards here.
And they're all bad, I guess.
No, well, they're not necessarily bad. So let's see, here's some example. So here's actually a good one, a light drizzle. So roll the dice 3 times and extinguish in each target location. So that actually helps you out. But here's another one, Hoard of Cleaning Supplies. You add 2 new hazmats to the board. So, basically this kind of makes every game a little bit different through the extra events. So that's the core. And then after you do an event, you add, what do we add? We add a flare-up card as well. So when you accelerate, you add a flare-up card, and then you take all the cards and you put them back together and shuffle them again.
So it's harder next time.
Yes. So the flare-up card is like adding another hotspot. It's making the game progressively more difficult as it goes along. So they did the math. Blue is a PhD in statistics, so they did the math. So the math actually works out to be the same odds as the hotspot mechanic, but using cards, so it's a little bit easier to understand. And then, of course, adding the events. So also, in addition, we included 3 new miniatures. Fire Prevention Specialist is a promo role that we had before with no miniature, so now we've included both the card and the miniature, and we've added the Strategist and the Suppression Specialist as 2 new playable characters. And then the specialized miniatures like are found in the Extreme Danger expansion. And then the final bit is we added a few new special points of interest, and then a couple, and then just extra tokens as well. So all of that is the Flashpoint Tragic Events. We did a little bit different this year. This was Kickstarter only. We will sell it in the United States. We'll sell it through Amazon. If we have any extra copies after the Kickstarter, we may sell it through retail or directly online. and then it will enter broader distribution actually in 2019. And the reason why we did that, quite honestly, is we've gotten to the point with so many expansions for Flashpoint that most stores don't carry the expansions. And if we did a retail-only distribution, we would have probably actually broken even or made no money. So realistically, to extend the life of Flashpoint and to keep these out, we kind of did direct-only approach. So it'll be available to everyone at some point in the future, but for now we're going to have a few select places where we're selling it directly.
All right, like here in Essen.
Like here in Essen and Kickstarter, and then we'll probably have some limited distribution in Europe directly as well. And one thing we really want to mention, because we know we're going to get a lot of people that can't figure this out, because we did the little windows here so you can see the miniatures. But what that means is when you open the box, you won't find any rules or the counters that are included. And those are all hidden underneath the insert. So you take the insert out to get to the rules for the expansion and the counters. So it's unfortunately something we didn't really catch until we get the final production versions. And I did the same thing. I'm like, where are the counters? Where are the rules? This is not complete. And it took me a bit to find them.
I think Aeon's End was released last year,
yes. Right? Yeah, so Aeon's End came out last year. And we've actually done a couple things to Aeon's End. First is a couple new expansions. So War Eternal is a standalone expansion, so it is fully playable out of the box. And then there's 2 smaller expansions, and all of these are compatible with the existing Aeon's End and the Aeon's End expansions. So the Outer Dark and the Void.
Do they change anything of the gameplay?
There's a couple new mechanics that are very small, like link spells are included. But really what it is exploring is kind of the design space. There's more the nemesis, the boss monsters that you're fighting are more complex, and they're certainly harder. So the expansion is meant for people that have played Aeon's End and are more experienced. So it's not necessarily a good place to start your Aeon's End experience. Likewise, the characters, the mages that you play in War Eternal are a little bit more challenging to play. They're not as straightforward. Their powers are more individualized. They have more individualized playing cards than the characters in Aeon's End. Some of them have fewer breaches, different ways to cast spells. So the core mechanics have not changed, but there's a lot of new ways to play and exploring the design space in this expansion. And the one other thing we should mention is we've also changed some of the graphic design, particularly on the front part of the card. So we made the cards brighter, the
contrast better.
There was a black border on all the cards. We took that black border off the cards to make the art fully extend to the edges. The component quality has been improved as well. And we are offering update packs, again, through a kind of a limited distribution, so not through retail. We'll do update packs that were part of the Kickstarter, and will be available on select basis outside of that as well. For those people that have the first edition of the game to upgrade their cards and character mats.